We believe to stop marketing, start engaging. That's what we're doing over at DevHub. Is that now the focus is no longer just about let's sell you something on why Near is the best developer experience, which it is, right? We all know it. That's why we're here. But we want to actually start to engage you as a user and better understand what do you need and how do we help you be successful instead of us trying to put our product to you.
And welcome back to another edition of DevHub Live. I am your host, Joe from Near DevHub. We have a really special episode today. We're kind of trying to change things up a little bit. If you don't already know, we have the REDACTED Hackathon going on right now. It is over, I think, $600,000 in prizes right now. Get involved. You can still join. You have until the end of October to submit your project fully online. Tons of great categories. And so what we wanted to do was kind of change how we're using DevHub Live a little bit. We always have these great interviews. We talk about different things happening in the ecosystem. But because of the hackathon, we really want to dive in and get people acquainted with how do you actually start building on some of these different, partners that are part of this, how you start building on Near, all these different things that are happening. And today, we're really excited to have Bitte to come on because they are sponsoring some bounties there through the Redacted Hackathon. And they're going to come and we'll do a new segment called Teach Joe. And they're going to come and teach me how to use this stuff, which in turn teaches you. As always, you can ask questions in the comments. We will try to bring them up and address them if we can. But otherwise, let me bring Nate up to the stage from Bitte. Nate.
Hello.
Hey.
How are you doing?
Great. Thanks again for joining. You are a now multiple-time participant on DevHub Live. So yes. Congratulations.
I'm just here quickly, and we'll be leaving and exiting as soon as Mark gets on here. He is the one who has been sort of helping out Micro. Micro's been leading the way in the whole agent building system, but yep. Mark has been implementing a lot of the sort of cross-agent communications. So I'm quite excited when he actually joins. Let's see. Well, ask me anything.
Yeah, while waiting for Mark, let's just talk a little bit about, I guess, what's the high level of what's capable right now on Bitte?
So high level is, let's say we launched, so let's do a little timeline, right? We built our first ChatGPT agent a year and a half ago. So building these things doesn't just happen and all of a sudden magically you talk about building the best transaction building system that exists, right? So a year and a half ago, we built the 2 ChatGPT plugins, realized we couldn't execute mainnet transactions through those plugins. So we then put it onto AI.mintBaseXYZ, which then forced us to build a wallet so that we can make those transactions easier. And then, hey, Mark, just going over where we're at today, but just to finish that, let's say, then the wallet now started doing its own transactions, and we basically just wanted to solve all of our NFT problems, right? So create a mint, create an image in Mint, buy all the NFTs on this contract, list all the NFTs on this contract. Once we did all of that, Micro did it a step further and said, let's make DeFi swaps. So when he built that agent, that was our first external agent. We kind of had this aha moment of what if we open this up to everyone to build their own agents? And we focus on the cross-chain signatures, the security, and maybe a little bit more of the visual elements, like reporting, show me a nice chart of ETH over the last 2 months and these sort of things, while other folks started building on top of that. Nice. So that's where we're at now. The very first implementation, we thought 20 agents could all talk with each other and we could figure that out. That wasn't the case. So we took a step back, and now we're re-implementing a new system where only 2 or 3 agents can talk at a time, and you can select these 2 or 3 different agents together to make those transactions happen, and focusing on the playground to create this world where developers can easily create an agent within less than 5 minutes. So Mark's going to take us away a bit more on that side. Go for it.
Cool. Mark, thanks so much for joining us. Before we jump in, though, with everything, I want to level set a little bit around the hackathon. But so I'm going to share my screen real quick here, and then Mark, I'll let you share yours. So if you haven't already, check out the dev post here. I'm going to put the link here at the bottom. Check out redacted.devpost.com. We have all the bounties there listed. You can get involved, form your team, sign up. But here's your guys' bounty. So talking about, again, up to $15,000 allocated for in-wallet AI agent and up to $3,000 per accepted submission. So 15,000 total. Sounds like up to maybe 5 different prizes, it sounds like. What is, maybe, Nate, before Mark dives into the actual teaching how to actually use this stuff, any kind of little tips and tricks that we should, be aware of as builders for this bounty?
I think Mark's going to cover the majority of these. We're going to update our docs today. We basically wrote this long doc of how to bootstrap your own agent. We've now launched this new thing called Make Agent, which is going to cut those docs down in half, if not 3/4, which is going to make the process way easier. And the cross-chain mechanisms. So right now we are currently building a cow swap agent behind the scenes. So don't build a cow swap agent, please. But anything else goes, right? Like being able to have conversations with DAOs, that would be a huge win. And just opening up the world. Also, the idea is don't just build an agent. You can extract money by building these agents. So what's the reason to build an agent? If I build a better cow swap agent, maybe I pull a better fee from it. You as an agent builder can make that happen. Maybe you up the ante just a little bit more than the swap, and then the ease of the creation of that works. So we'll be publishing the cow swap agent. So if you want to create a Uniswap agent and use that as the base, that's totally fair game. Is that fair to say, Mr. Mark?
Yep, exactly.
Cool.
All right. Well, Mark, thanks so much for joining. Can you just kind of introduce yourself to the audience a little bit of, what your role is at Bitte and what are you going to teach me today?
Yes, I'm Mark. At Bitte, I'm doing basically a lot of the AI stuff, working closely with Luis on that. And yeah, we've been focusing a lot on the playground and building these agents, making it public for everyone. So that's what we're going to jump right into and show you guys how to basically set up your own agent, test it in Dev Live, and be able to test it on the wallet, and then also be able to register it so anyone else can see it publicly and use it as well.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, so feel free to share your screen, whatever you need to do. The floor is yours.
Awesome. We're on the docs here. Let me know if that we're good to go on the screen share.
Yep, we're all good.
Awesome. So yeah, you're going to want to start, just jump right to our docs. And right from here, we can see building agents. And this is pretty much a pretty good guide on, start to finish, what you're going to want to be doing. And what we're going to walk through in this example, we're just going to do, we're going to use CoinGecko's APIs. So they have pretty simple APIs that a lot of people might be familiar with. And we're going to work to grab cryptocurrency prices and explain basically how we can just take any API and make that possible for an AI agent to understand it, and also to combine that with our functionalities on the wallet. So
perfect.
Essentially, what we're doing is once we have our ref swap agent here that you can look at. This is a great example. And you can go ahead and fork this and get an idea of where to work from. And I've essentially done something very similar to that here, where I have this CoinGecko demo, which is also a public template. And I'm just going to walk through basically the main differences between what we have here and a typical Next project. So it's a very basic Next project, but in our API route, we're exposing this route AI plugin, and we are, instead of, we're just writing an open API spec here, which is very common, like a Swagger spec. And this will be then served with a dynamic server URL. And using our make agent tool, which is a new tool, a new CLI tool we have. This makes it very easy to test this live just by having this one route. We can serve our spec as well as test it live on our wallet. And
let me just pause you real quick for a second.
Yep.
So interesting approach. So how come you're taking the spec approach for that, just for people's edification?
Yep. So the Open API spec is very popular and used for a lot of APIs across a lot of services. So we just added a very small addition to it, which is this Bitte extension here, and this is some of the information we need to create your agent. And the idea is to just make this as easy as possible to turn any API into something that works with our system.
So you're not, and because of this setup, you don't have to actually do a Next project, but Next is the recommended because you have the templates, but it doesn't have to be in Next.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. Okay. We're using, I should definitely make that clear. Thanks for that. We're using, excuse me. We're using Next for the ease of, deploying and testing quickly, but essentially you just need to serve on an endpoint, an Open API spec. So you can use anything you want for that. If you actually follow our ref agent example, this is using Elysia. It's within Next, but it's using Elysia, which is very much like Express, and you can just do that with any kind of service as well.
Nice. Very cool.
Yep. So what we've done, we have our spec defined here. Now, importantly, what we're giving it is our near account ID. And then we're also giving it some info about the assistant, such as the name we want for it, a simple description, and then instructions where we're going to go more in detail about how it should function with our APIs, especially if you have any like caveats or anything like that. Ours is quite simple. We're just going to use we're just hitting the price API. So what we've done here is just following the Open API spec. We've given a description for this endpoint, and to get that and derive like how you're going to write this out, we're just looking at the endpoint, basically seeing the requirements for the endpoint. So this is going to need the IDs parameter. This is going to need the currency we're basing it against, and from there we can basically give it in the parameters. We're telling it that we have this parameter IDs. And we have this parameter versus currencies, describing these parameters, and basically also giving an examples, which help make it very clear for the AI how we're going to work with this.
Nice.
And once we have that all set up, this is all we're going to need is just this route being served on any kind of endpoint. We've created a tool that will help you during development, which is the make agent tool. And basically what we're doing is just by running this, it's going to help us to serve using local tunnel. Your Open API spec on a public endpoint so that we can also connect it to our wallet playground directly. And we're going to jump in and just do that right now. So the only thing that we're going to need to be adding for that is this dev script here. So we're going to want to install make agent and then add this dev script. And if you want to, make it even more simple, you could actually run this dynamically, this tool, so that you don't even need to install make agent. But there will be some other things with make agent that will help you during development.
Cool.
And once we run this script, this is going to launch our dev server, as well as forward our localhost through local tunnel to a URL. And we're also given this link where we're passed into the Smart Actions Playground with our temporary agent. And we can see that already our agent is giving us some responses based on our Open API spec and descriptions.
Mm-hmm.
And we can test the price function. And this, excuse me, this will call our agent, which will then know which route to use based on our spec and the functions provided.
Mm-hmm.
And now that we have this live, this make agent tool, some of the cool things are is that any changes that we make to this AI plugins route now, or the spec in general, it's going to automatically be refreshing and updating our agent on our playground. And one thing that I forgot to mention that's actually very important, specifically for Next, the way that we're serving this, because based on our docs, we have to be serving on the well-known AI plugin route. Let me just find that really quick. Yep. So this is where we explain where the plugin manifest has to go. So on your URL on this route, we need to have the AI plugin JSON.
Mm-hmm.
And to do that with Next, we're just and to build it dynamically, we are just doing in our Next config a rewrite so that we actually are serving that API route to this URL. And that's how we're able to find it through our registry. And just to give now like a walkthrough of development, we're going to add a new functionality, and we'll keep it simple. We're going to do this route here, for example. So we have an API route to ping the server, and we want to basically add this to our AI's functionality. So first thing we'll do is we'll build that route ourselves in our project. And let's just set up something basic. And what we're going to then want to do is we're actually going to fetch the URL provided here. So we're hitting the CoinGecko endpoint within our route, and we're going to return the result of that basically.
Cool.
So yeah, very simple. Just hitting this. We're just hitting this and getting the result. And we can just test to make sure that this works. And we have our ping route. Let's see what we're doing here. Oh yeah, oops. Just need to get the actual data. And we see we're getting that data there. So now we have a simple route that's just giving us whether the API is up or not. And we need to now actually add this to our spec so that we are basically explaining to the AI that it has this functionality to call this route. So in our paths, same as we did for the price, we're going to add one basically for just making this ping. And we are going to use cursor for help here because writing open API specs is not very fun.
No, definitely not.
And basically we can just go through, and this is not what we want people, spending a lot of their time on, obviously. So
Right.
We could go through now. We have this ping, we have the location, which is in our API/ping. We describe it, very simple endpoint. And just by saving this, we should have gotten an update to our API or to our plugin JSON.
Mm-hmm.
And we should be able to now ping from our playground. And this should have our agent calling that ping route, and we get this request that we wanted, basically.
Nice. Let me ask you a couple questions here that I think people maybe will have. So I think an important part here is, one, when you create the new endpoint, you have to make sure it's in the spec. You just because you made it, if it's not in the spec, it's not going to load in the agent.
Yes, exactly. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
As you go and as you build, and you just showed here so people are aware, this is just like any other Next app. As you are saving, it is updating, and you didn't have to redeploy. You didn't do anything different, right? We didn't miss anything?
Yes, exactly. And that's only because we're using the make agent tool, which is serving to this URL, and it's watching this file. It's basically watching our AI plugins file.
Nice. You mentioned early on the initial directions that are generated. So that is generated based off of what's here in the specs. You're not feeding that anywhere else, correct?
Yes. Yep. Exactly. Yep.
Uh,
So this will register an agent on our platform
mhm.
using this information. And then when you prompt our system, there's some additional context added when using your agent as well. But a lot of it's derived from this spec here.
Right. So there's no other. I don't have to, as a developer, I don't have to do anything else. As long as I'm detailing out my specs here with that information, then it's going to do everything else for me.
Yep. Exactly. Yep.
Super easy. Are there any restrictions around different data sets or endpoints? Like, can I bring in static data? Does it have to be something that has to go fetch?
It can be anything. So yeah, we can return whatever we want here, and that's what we end up giving back. So yeah, you could do your own logic here. You can take from an API, change some of the logic. If you want to take a fee anywhere, you can do stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's the idea there, basically.
By take a fee, you mean like charge the user?
Yeah, or if you want, yeah, basically, like if you're providing a service that's going to build a transaction, maybe you want to add within the list of transactions like a small fee or referral, something like that. That's a possibility.
Can you just show like an example of how that would go together?
Yes, we can. We can play around with it. It might be a bit.
Yeah, that's what we're here for.
Yeah.
This is...
Awesome. Yep. So to do something like that, let's jump into maybe the ref example. Before that, maybe I'll just wrap up registering this as an example.
Yeah.
And we can do some more like experimental stuff. Yeah. So we've been working on this plugin. This is all on dev. So as soon as we close this, our agent is actually going to be deleted and it's not, accessible anymore in the playground. So once we're done with that, we're going to need to deploy this on a live service. And I'm using Vercel here, for example, and I've done that where I've deployed this to the service here. And all we're going to need from there, once we have this service deployed, and if we visit this, this spec is an optional thing you can do for users, but the most important thing is that we're serving our OpenAPI spec, which we can see here that we are. So our URL has to serve this spec. That's the most important thing. And we're just going to grab our URL. It could be the full URL or just the domain. And we're going to head over. We're going to follow the docs and head over to our agent registry endpoints. And here, this is tentative to its own UI and stuff, of course, but
right.
For now, we're going to use this API ref. And we're going to register a new plugin. And you can also do this, through Postman or whatever you may need to do it with. Give it our URL. And this will register the agent. And if it's successful, it'll give us a debug URL. and it'll give us our API key. So you're going to want to save this API key because we need this for updating the agent or deleting the agent. And you can take this debug URL and just start testing it right away in the playground. But the difference here is that this is the persistent playground where I can share this link with anyone and it'll always be up and running.
Got it. So, all right, that's cool. Very nice. When does it become like fully live, like outside of the playground?
So we're not doing that just yet, but
Okay.
essentially you're going to want to make like a verification request on your agent. And from there, once it's approved, we can make that open to anyone through like the UI or through our registry. Otherwise, it's just going to be like, like a link where you can test and share with people if you want them using it through the playground.
Yeah. So for the sake of Hackathon, that's perfect, right? So they just as long as they deploy it, they can show it through the playground. That's all they need.
Exactly. And that's the requisite for the hackathon is we want it to be available with a link on the playground that we can test and use.
Nice.
And so, yeah, that we'll wrap on that and we can jump in to taking a look at the ref agent, for example.
Yeah.
And we can see some maybe some cooler stuff. Nice. So, yep. So this is our ref agent example. And so here we're just serving our spec raw. We're not using the make agent tool yet on this example. And one of the important things now that we just following from the docs so that we don't get too lost. Let's see. So we don't get lost on how people can find what we're talking about. So we have this tools field on the beta extension. And if we're going to want our agent to have the ability to generate transactions, we need to specify that we want that tool available. And so if we don't have this, for example, our agent is just going to use our endpoints, serve and provide that to the user. If we also add some of the beta primitives, like generate transaction or submit query, it'll also have those functionalities as well.
Nice. Okay.
So here we're specifying that we want to be able to generate transactions. And then we also have our endpoints here for our ref agent. And if we jump in to what our swap route is doing. So here we have a swap route that's using the ref SDK and actually getting the best swap route for the provided inputs. And in here, we can either add a reference to the ref transactions. I believe they support adding like a referral, or otherwise we can just add to our list of transactions because we're returning a list of near transactions on this endpoint. And if we wanted to add something else there, we can do something like that.
So it's like a batch transaction at that point?
Yes. Yep.
Cool.
Yep. Yep. So basically that's what we're doing there. Further, there's one more thing I definitely wanted to share. I don't know how much we want to do with testing this live. I don't know how much time we have, or if we want to jump into that, we can do some stuff like that. But
we have time. Yeah, even more. Let's. I mean, the goal here is we want to also inspire people to try different things, and so I think it'd be great if you could just show just different ways that we can kind of be creative with his. Awesome.
Okay, sweet. So let's then work on let's get this using make agent first. That's one of the things we're going to want to be doing. So we're going to want to be serving this. Let's add a new route here. I wonder if this is going to be fine to do a. Yeah, actually, let's see. I'm thinking because the only thing is this is using Elysia, which could be a bit of a funk show.
Feel free to make mistakes. We all do. As developers, we all it's always experiment. So
Okay.
don't have to be perfect. Don't worry about that.
All right. Let's see let's just jump into this. See what we're working with then. So this example is basically serving a OpenAPI spec, and we are, in order to test this live, we're going to want to make this part dynamic. So let's see. Okay, so we can test this live at this link. The thing is, this is going to now use the assuming this is live. Let's see. Okay, so what we're going to need is a way to serve this. What was I just using? Pingy. Okay. So this will be the live. I keep doing that. I need to set up the prompt URL. Okay, so now we're calling this project basically the live deployment,
Yes.
but we want to be talking to our local one. So what I'll do, so some of this stuff is what make agent is doing. I just don't want to convert this whole project right now to that. So let's just do, we're going to set our server URL to be localhost, and we're going to set up a tunnel, which is what we're doing a lot with the make agent. And now, okay.
So with make agent, when that's running, do you actually have to do anything manually, or is it actually doing all that? As long as you put the right parameters in, do you have to do anything else?
No, so it's going to be doing all of that for you. Essentially, what it does is, it'll start this local tunnel for you, and the URL of the tunnel, it'll dynamically set this field here in the servers.
Got it. Okay.
And that's how we're able to just connect to it directly from the playground. And let's see. So if we jump into this, should be able to connect to our local instance and set the prompt to, hey. Okay. And and then from there, we do need to actually, we we do need to actually register this plugin as well. So that's why this make agent tool is actually very nice.
So for people who are watching, let's just clarify a little bit. So the first example was set up a little bit differently. So you didn't have to link it through Pingy, right? Like you could just go, and then this is set up a little bit because the way this is set up, you have to now actually do one extra step. Is that correct?
Yep, exactly. Yeah. And this might be maybe a little confusing for people, but essentially if you're using the make agent tool, a lot of these steps are handled for you. If you're just doing this more raw, this is kind of the flow that you're going to need to follow. So let's grab this URL. And this is not finding the plugin spec, which it should be there, I believe. Okay. Oh, there we go. Okay. I had the URL in there. Should have caught that, but let's save this API key for now. In case we need it. And we have our debug URL here. And now, as we make changes to this, we can update our plugin and then test it live in the playground, for example.
Awesome.
So, so basically here, what we're doing is getting token info is one of our routes. And then we also have making swaps. And let's see, like estimate swap. What can we do? For example, maybe we can add like a referral fee or.
Yeah, just add we can just add a referral fee. Let's see what that looks like.
Okay. So, or we actually might already have that here. So we have this referral ID being passed.
Mm-hmm.
If we wanted to update this, so let's say we're going to lower the slippage and change our referral ID, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Okay. Yeah. Then we're going to want to just update our plugin.
And again, I think this is great to see this more manual approach. But again, if you're using Make Agent, you do not have to go through any of that extra step to update. It will just update.
Yep. And maybe we'll jump back into a quick Make Agent example after this and see building from there. So when you're making an update or deleting an agent, you're going to need your API key that you got when you registered it. So this will update, which will refetch the plugin spec and everything from our API. And now let's jump in and let's give this a test. So let's say like let's try to generate a swap transaction for near. Interesting. Let's see what we got. Let's just see metadata, see if this is actually working from the endpoint.
What was nice there is that it gave a pretty detailed description of like what possibly was the problem. It didn't actually just try to, force anything or just fail.
Yep.
Right. So it's giving you, yeah, that's great.
This is like, oh, you know what this is? This is not right here. That's why we encourage using make agent for now. But the reason this is not going to be working is because we actually need this pingy URL to be here. I'm not great with Elysia, so I didn't want to just try to serve this dynamically. But if we were to serve this dynamically, we can update this route to use our actual deployment, which would be this.
Got it. So yeah. So okay. So this is great exposure just to developers see that. I'm gonna run into this probably during the hackathon as they try different things, whatever else. So again, a couple of things that I think we're seeing here is one, obviously use the make agent, make your life easier, but there's obviously you can experiment and do this any way you want, but they're just make sure you're going through the steps and really being clear about how that all goes. So it's not going to just manually update, even though yes, Next is manual, is automatically updating. You need to actually go in and force that update each time you make a change.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
Let's jump out of this because essentially this server URL should have been the whatever URL we're deployed on. We had it as localhost. I was assuming that it would forward to the local tunnel, but that's not what was the case. But maybe I could show something else that we can do that's a bit interesting.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, so here's an example of, so we like the CoinGecko API is a huge API and it's well documented. So if we actually look for the, we can actually find the API reference for CoinGecko. So they have their own open API spec. So what we could do is we can actually take any existing open API spec and extend it to use our beta extension. And instead of having to write all these stuff and everything, we can actually try to make something like dynamic that can just use an existing API.
Mm-hmm.
And this is just walking through like an already done example, but by using like a proxy like this, what we're doing here is we just took that whole AI plugin, open API spec, and pasted it and host into our well-known folder. So I didn't write all this, obviously.
Right.
And then from there, the API route that we serve, it's just going to forward to the actual CoinGecko API. And we can basically then have descriptions for the whole API that our AI can understand,
mm-hmm.
and still use the existing services. So that's another option if you want to make something like more dynamic, so you're not specifically writing every single API route. You can just forward the requests. So here we're replacing the path basically with whatever parameters the user's giving and just forwarding that directly to the CoinGecko API.
Did you still have to, when you just kind of drop that in, you still had to though add the mint base spec though in there as well, right?
Yes, exactly. Yep. Good point. So this is the only thing we're changing is basically these fields here.
Mm-hmm.
So we want to update the server URL. This is wherever the live deployment is going to be. And then we want to update the mint base metadata. And basically, the cool thing with this is that, so we're using we're using like a Swagger API ref generator here, for example, and we can see that this is actually going to expose all of our endpoints. So we now have all of these endpoints, and the AI can use all of these endpoints. And this is like a more, experimental kind of approach. It's not going to, it actually does quite well. The only issue is if there's an endpoint that returns too much data, there could be issues with that.
Okay.
But this is one way to, with just one API route, that's acting as a proxy to serve like a whole existing API and pass it into the agent.
So really cool. I think there's a couple of things that instantly come to mind again around a hackathon. So existing data sets, existing open APIs, you can certainly start making agents about. It sounds like there's room here to combine, APIs. So maybe again, it's not rewriting everything from scratch. I love this idea that you can just forward it. Really, it sounds like the way you guys have structured this. One, if you follow the basics of like your guys' automated tooling, it seems like a breeze. I mean, that first example is super fast. Manual, yeah, it's a few more steps, but you really have a lot of flexibility where if you wanted to put this on top of your project, you could. So that's certainly there. And then with all of this, really, as long as you have a data set that already from an open API, you can be off and running in, a few minutes. And at least maybe it's not a winning level agent, but it's the start of something that hopefully maybe can inspire people to kind of keep going from there.
Yep, exactly. Yep.
Very cool. Great last point. I think from troubleshooting standpoint, I'm sure there'll be questions of like, why isn't it returning stuff? So too much data being returned can be potentially an issue. I assume that's because of the way it's tokenizing it. Is that the issue?
Yep, and just some limits on a lot of the AI services on like response data.
Got it. So good to know for devs out there. If someone needs help as they're working on this during the hackathon, where should people go?
So you can jump right into our Telegram, and you can message us from there. Just reach out to the team in any way. Telegram's usually best, and we'd be happy to jump in and help you out from there.
Awesome. Here, I'm gonna I'll put that in the thing here so people can actually see. So this is your developer Telegram. People wondering why it says Mint. It's because it's part of Mint Base. But now this side there, the AI wallet side is Bitte. Mint Base still exists. So yeah, awesome. You have tons of templates. Looks like
Exactly.
We'll talk about that quick.
Yeah, just these are like the main templates that you can work with. Ref agent template, and then we have these two CoinGecko templates. And these are basically where you can see some examples of existing agents and work from there.
Very cool. Awesome. Great stuff. This is a really exciting. This is a really easy way to get involved with some AI stuff. If viewers, if you saw the call yesterday, if you're going to go back and watch the AMA yesterday about AI, we really want to stress that you can jump into using AI in your project in a really easy manner. This is one of them. This is kind of exactly what we were hitting on yesterday. There's no reason why you can't start including it right away and actually have something relevant to your project. So again, with the hackathon, you can mix and match bounties. So you can have a whole project, and let's say you have an API structure, build an agent on top of it, right? Integrate it, start putting these pieces together. There's a lot of cool things that can come of this. Awesome. Mark, any last words? This was a really great tutorial. Thank you.
No. So, looking forward to any submissions. Thanks for having me on, Joe. And use make agent. That's
awesome.
That's the rules.
Sounds great. I really appreciate your time today. Thanks, Mark.
Awesome.
Thanks. Take care. So That was awesome, guys. Listen, we're gonna keep stressing here at DevHub, at Near, that this hackathon is going to give you a ton of opportunities to really build and to dive into the whole entire ecosystem. And this is another example of one of those where, it's probably easier than you first thought, right? Building an agent is, that first agent that he showed using their automated tools up and running in a few minutes. And again, even if you want to go a step deeper and manually integrate it into what you're already doing, the steps are all there. They have extensive documentation. Definitely check it out. If you haven't already signed up, the link is here at the bottom, redacted.devpost.com. Sign up for the hackathon, over $600,000 in prizes. It is, and again, you have a ton of time still to jump in, to build, to submit. If you are already working on a project and you're going to work on something new, you can still submit. It doesn't have to be a from scratch new project. Make sure you're doing that. If you have other questions about anything else, you can always, again, reach out to us. So our dev support, just for the general Near ecosystem, Telegram is here down below. Jump into that, ask questions. Not only will the DevRels from Near DevHub be part of that, but the community is also there to help answer any questions. We will be back next week with more tutorials. We're going to keep doing this and going, and showing you some more different projects of the ecosystem. If you have questions, if you want to learn more, please reach out to us. But otherwise, I hope you learned something. I certainly did. And this has been DevHub Live. We'll talk to you soon.